This morning on BRN, how to navigate divorce. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Mackenzie Sorich is with U Ridge Family Law and Estate Planning. She's also the author of The Divorce Navigator, Charting Your Path to Freedom. Mackenzie, great to see you. Thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And we're going to talk about your new book, or the new book, The Divorce Navigator. I want to take a step back, though. You've got 2 decades of experience handling divorce cases. How do you take 2 decades and boil it down into a book?
That was the big challenge. And it took me a couple years to streamline my thoughts and put it down into a book. But that was really one of the goals, is to take all of the experience that I've gathered over the years helping people with divorce and family law and put it into a really digestible, user-friendly book so that my clients or folks who are thinking about divorce have a little bit more information in their hands from someone who's been in court and holding people's hands through the process.
Yeah, and in your time, have you seen, I think the stat that often gets thrown around is that 50% of all marriages end in divorce. I don't know if that's true or not, but from your perspective, over the past decade, 2 decades, have you seen the number of divorces, I'm just talking like anecdotally, you don't have to give me the actual stats, but have you seen the number of divorces actually increase during your time in practice?
No, in fact, I've seen them decrease a little bit. And I was looking at those numbers when I was preparing for the book. And I can tell you that in Western Washington, where I'm at, that
Yeah.
numbers of divorces are actually going down just a little bit over the last 10 years.
That's good, I guess, in some way. Maybe not great for business, but I'm assuming that you have opportunities. So I guess it's good for some families, but maybe still good for you. Let's talk a little bit about some. That's a tongue-in-cheek joke. I want everyone to be happy. But let's talk about some. And again, you practice law in Washington State, and your book is really focused on Washington State. But I think that there are, in generalities here, that probably apply to the other 49 states. Would you agree in terms of a roadmap and how you progress through the divorce process?
Absolutely. I think there's a number of universal pieces of information in the book. And I only titled it in Washington because I'm only licensed to practice law in Washington. And so I didn't want anyone to take it as legal advice for another state. But absolutely, the process generally, from the human perspective, is about the same, I think, anywhere you are going through a divorce.
Where do just in generality, where do you start? I mean, if you come to the conclusion with your partner, hey, it's time to kind of part ways, where do you, maybe you don't come to that conclusion with your partner. Maybe you come to it in your head. Maybe that's the first place. But where do you get started? I mean, where does the divorce navigator say to get started?
Right. So some couples, it is a joint decision and they're talking openly about what are we going to do? Things aren't working. But there's also plenty of people who come to this decision on their own. And I believe that the best place to get started is thinking about what you want the rest of your life to look like and mapping out your future, and what the goals are, and get really clear with yourself about where you want to live, how you want to live, who you want to be with. And then we work backwards from there to make the legal process fit into what you're trying to achieve for your life.
I have to think that whether you're uh, a man or a woman partner, male female partner, it's a shock. I mean, it's a shock to the system. There's an emotional component as well as the legal and financial component.
Absolutely. I believe that folks who are going through divorce, even if they're the ones who initiated it, wanted it, there's still some grief that has to be processed. And there's no way around that. You just have to process it. And it's really helpful to take care of that and address it head on before moving on to the next relationship or a next big phase in your life, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and I'm sorry. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. How do you I assume someone in your role is kind of, I'm going to say you're probably a Seattle Seahawks fan. you're probably the quarterback in that analogy in terms of running, the show, so to speak, in terms of how to manage through this. But how do you find someone like yourself? I mean, picking a financial advisor, certainly it's based on your own perspective and what works for you. Is it the same with the legal profession and finding someone of your stature and your experience who you want to partner with?
Right. Absolutely. So in my experience, folks should talk to probably two, three attorneys or law firms before they make a final decision on who they want to hire to represent them in this process. It's one of the probably biggest life changes that you'll ever experience. Maybe the only time you encounter the legal system. And so it pays to take a little bit of time and interview multiple folks to make sure it's a good fit. My firm, for example, we have a number of attorneys. We work as a team, often on cases, and we provide plenty of opportunities for potential clients to get to know us and make sure that they're comfortable with the way that we approach divorce.
So do you operate like the Wedding Crashers lawyers? No,
Um,
I'm kidding. I'm assuming you've seen that movie.
yes, it's been a
It's
while,
a,
but I forgot that they were lawyers. I'll have to go
they
back and
were they
rewatch.
were yeah. I just saw it the other day, and every time I do a show on divorce, I always think about those guys. I guess you don't maybe do barter for airline miles. No, kidding. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Let's talk about where children factor in because it's not only disrupt. I would think it's not only disruptive to the two partners, but those children. And I think it probably varies with the child's age.
Yes, absolutely. So, in some instances, it's maybe less impactful when you have a really young child who doesn't have the conscious awareness of living with both parents versus a teenager. He's going through a lot of emotional development, and the shock is perhaps even harder on them sometimes. It is individualistic to a certain degree, but there's a number of developmental issues that can affect how the impact of the divorce weighs on children.
Yeah, I mean, I can think, and that probably creates. I think we just did a show recently on children of divorce actually having higher stroke rates. So I would imagine that it's a cascade. Yeah, I wasn't even aware of this. There was a study done. I can't remember exactly where it was, but there's probably a cascading or domino effect if you don't get it right. And I would assume that you help your clients kind of. You're not a therapist, but maybe sometimes you play one on TV.
That's right. Counselor at law is part of the title. And so we do talk to our clients who have children and try to coach them as much as we can about how to be on their best behavior for their kids, deal with potentially bad behavior by the other parent, do the best that they can to let go of the things they can't control, but make what they can control go smoothly for the children.
Yeah, I would imagine sometimes it's probably you probably have you or a client, maybe the client has got their the clenched fists, just anger. You got to practice a little Zen, maybe a little yoga to release that because it probably just clouds uh, clarity, right? I mean, it probably just clouds their vision to getting what they want to achieve, which is a divorce.
Right. So I've read probably about 90% of human decision making is emotionally driven.
Hmm.
And so when we're trying to help our clients make decisions in these cases, and there's so many little decisions, we really want to try and tap into the rational part of their brain and not let it be emotionally driven because that often self sabotages the goal that the client is going for ultimately. And that's the great part about having an attorney is having someone else who's not in the emotional thick of it to help you see the bigger picture.
How do you navigate the finances? I mean, obviously, you've got the child issues, the children issues if you have children, and what that's going to look like. But then one or one partner may not be managing the finances, or not may not have been managing the finances, or maybe both partners work, or maybe one partner works. How do you factor that into navigating a divorce?
Yes, so I think this is a great opportunity if you were not the partner who handled finances to start learning how to manage household finances, your investments, and see it as an opportunity to learn another part of life, and gain control over your money and some agency. And we have a number of professionals, financial advisors, retirement advisors that we partner with and help our clients connect with when it seems appropriate to learn how to manage their own finances and create a strategy and a plan for how they're going to make enough money to live off of once they're in two separate households.
Yeah, I have to imagine. I mean, these are smart people, but sometimes if you haven't ridden the bike in a while, you got to get back on the bike. Probably the same with managing your finances, understanding how to use credit cards, etc. Mackenzie, great book. Great. Thanks for taking the initiative. Thanks for joining us this morning. And we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thank you, Jeff. Good to see you.
And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse, for all the news in one place. Details, of course, at our website. And your subscription helps support all this great BRN content. And we're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.